What's up, folks? Hello, welcome. It is Monday. And unlike Garfield, we love Mondays because that means I'm streaming. Is that why? Sure. I'm WrestleMania, and it is a delight, an absolute delight to have you here with me today. How's everybody doing? Monday, April the 20th? Jesus Christ. Is it just me? Or is like life just like zooming by? Like I've never felt like time, like feel like I'm so disconnected from time. I don't know. It's like we're already like in the final throes of April, and it just like drives me bonkers. Drives me nuts. It is it is April. It is April 420. Hope happy 420 to all those who observe. There was a time I would have gladly observed. This is no longer the case. You see, I have grown up and I have become responsible. And I find my highs in different places, in different areas. I find my highs looking at a sunset over a mountain range. That's where I find my highs. I find my highs in the laughter of babies. That's exactly. when is it going to be PCP day? So yeah, I mean, hey, it's been a few days, right? It's been a few days. Lots of wrestling, lots of WWE stuff, as WrestleMania just consumed everything. And WrestleMania week, quite frankly, as many of you know, I do not cover the WWE anymore. So what did I do then? What did I do then on Saturday night? Oh, I watched films with my darling Kristen. We watched The Medium, which is a Thai horror film from 2021, I want to say 2021, 2022, something like that. Beautifully shot, wonderful stuff. Enjoyed it tremendously. Then we watched the Dust Bunny, singular, over there on HBO Max with Mads Mikkelsen, of whom Kristen and I are big fans of. I enjoyed that. That was delightful. That was delightful. It was just a nice little, a nice little time. It's nothing that's going to reinvent the wheel, but I thought it was delightful. I thought it was, and subverts expectations. I thought it was a little subversive. I thought it was quite enjoyable. I enjoyed it. Well, then what'd you do on Sunday, Warren? Oh, I watched wrestling. What are we talking about? I watched wrestling. I caught up on some wrestling and started to catch up on Invincible. What episode did I watch? I was like, I've got 2 episodes and I'm fully caught up until they release another one. How about that? That's what I watched. That's where I'm at. So that's what I've been doing and enjoying stuff. And yeah, we had a beautiful day here in ye old Quebec City on Saturday, but absolutely dreadful day on Sunday. Absolutely dreadful day. Yeah, yesterday was just It was just an awful, awful day. So, took advantage of spending some time outside with Juno on Saturday on top of it all. But yesterday, man, it was just cold and clammy and windy and just awful. Just awful, awful, awful stuff. So that's it. I mean, that's the long and short of it. That's the long and short of it. Nothing else. Oh, and of course, despite the fact that it was clammy and whatnot, I went to see Mama Hayes, who was doing quite well, actually. She is, we had spoken to doctors last week, and she will be going to a rehab institute, a home, to rehabilitate. They're gonna do. She's gonna do daily physiotherapy over there to get her all nice and strong and getting that full use of that broken hip now, that surgically repaired hip, and then she'll eventually come home. But she's still in the hospital, but she's in tremendous spirits. I would have fucking cracked at this point, being that long in the hospital. I wasn't that long with my own medical condition a couple of years ago. I was there maybe 8 days total before they sent me home. And oh man, was I ready to go? Holy shit. It couldn't come soon enough. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I gotta tell you, it's a little, I've got a docket set up per usual, but it's also very informal. Like there's stuff that I'm not quite sure how to go about. We'll see how things go. But let's start things off by saying hello to D. Owens. How you doing? Welcome to the chat, D. Owens. Also just happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hikaru, nice to see you too. Welcome as well. A member of the channel. That is very nice to see you and be here and whatnot. Meggy Okena, nice to see you and welcome. Holy smokes. No, I hope you're okay. I mean, I wouldn't be doxing what hospital I'm at between you and me, but I hope you're safe. I hope you're okay. That's the important part. Jeez, sorry to hear that, man. A biking accident on gravel sounds absolutely disastrous. That sounds fucking awful. It really does. Positive vibes. Hope you get back. Hope you get back on your feet soon. Hey, then we got Travis AW1. Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat as well. And Travis is also a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Sports and Things shows. Carlos, nice to see you. Hello, Warren in chat. Has the channel been sold to TKO? Not yet. They're gonna start by putting ads everywhere before they actually buy it. You got to make sure they can make that return on investment. The high valuation of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show has their head spinning. Has Mark Shapiro going, I don't know if we can afford this. Mr. Antox, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're kind of like what the title of kind of like the title of today's stream that I just I never put much thought into the titles of my of the live streams. I really don't. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't put a lot of thought in them. It's just whatever is like not extra lame, and I'm like, that's good. We'll just put that up there. This break to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is brought to you by Kit Kat. But I had cookie dough Kit Kats this weekend, and they taste like butter. And I'm not kidding. Has anyone ever had the opportunity? Chat. Has anyone ever had the Kit Kat cookie dough? Like, they legitimately taste like butter. crazy. And for that reason, I'm not quite sure why I like them. Like I should be able to get like I should be like I love the in general the cookie dough stuff, you know, but I'm also very picky. I'm also very picky when it comes to the cookie dough stuff. So anyway, I was expecting it to taste more like cookie dough, but it actually kind of tastes like butter. Yeah, Kit Kat Oreo. I thought it was I thought it was fine, you know. But then you're like, oh, it tastes like Oreos, you know. It's like, And then you're like, I can have Oreos anytime. You know, I don't need my Oreos in my Kit Kats, or do I? By the way, folks, leave a like on this stream if you wouldn't mind. I am fully aware that the vast majority of you have not done it. And if you don't, I'm not talking about Randy Orton. Is that a threat or a challenge? That's for you to find out. But yes, I mean, we might as well get on the topic of professional wrestling, because how much would it cost to be in a chair and beside you and not say a goddamn word? Okay, well, why don't we start there? First of all, a lot of money, a lot of money, and a lot of non-disclosure agreements for you to shut up about where I live. That's the first thing. I mean, it is extremely. It's an extremely terrifying prospect that someone was able to pay to get a custom like that. You know, like, what is this? What did they call it? The VIP Express Pass? What did they call it? The VIP Platinum Pass? Something to that effect, right? That's what something like something that you had never heard before, that you've never seen offered by WWE on any of their websites. You didn't see anything saying, you know, for X thousands of dollars, you can come in, you can come and join, you know, Groucho and Harpo in the main event match for night 2 of WrestleMania. Like, that was nowhere. So what I think it is that this guy knows Nick Khan, this dude who was who owns a scrapyard. Yeah, I should have. I don't have it at the ready. What is the name of the guy who was on commentary at WrestleMania? Because I think he has Adam Weistman, and I think he has a Wikipedia page. He does. There, let's pop in. We'll go straight to the big screen here. And just give me a second, and then we'll don't worry, we'll do Jacques. We're just, you know, we're throwing the format out the window here tonight. He's an American entrepreneur. He is the owner and chief executive officer of Upstate Shredding Weistman. It can't be Wasteman, right? That'd be too on the nose. It can't be that. Waistman Recycling, a scrap metal processing company headquartered in Owego, New York. All right. This is a guy who runs a very legitimate business. Oh my God, it's been locked. It's been locked. When did they lock it? Wait, people were probably fucking around with it and then someone locked it, right? It has to be. That has to be. Oh no, lifting the pretend. Oh, okay. Oh, it's been there since February 22nd because an IP from the publicity firm's area took over. So his publicity firm took over the Wikipedia page, and the Wikipedia editors were like, nope. Which is a good thing because there'd be probably a lot of people fucking around with it. Anyway. Yeah. So look, your guess is as good as mine as to why that guy was there. And quite frankly, I think it's a very worrisome thing. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing that seats on commentary are paid for like that. But look, this is a guy who called Nick Khan or Ari or whoever the fuck, right? But he called one of the bigwigs and he said, I can absolutely pay you to sit, at a commentary table for this one ladies match, right? Of course. Because again, we're doing customs here. And the promoter said, sure, because money talks with these guys. That's all there was. That's all there is to it. It's just like he was, probably the conversation went like, I don't think we should do that. And then he was like, name your price. And Ari was like, or whoever was like, well, X amount millions. And he was like, all right, consider it done. Right? Because it's just as simple as that. The guy said, I want to sit on commentary for WrestleMania for this one match. And whatever pushback he got was quickly taken away, quite certainly, once he said, I'm willing to pay this amount. And they were like, oh. And then they came around and was like, well, how do we introduce this guy on camera? We'll say that he's the VIP platinum experience guy, It's like, okay. Something that doesn't exist. It doesn't matter, right? Now, I know a lot of people thought it was really, really weird that he paid to be there and didn't say a goddamn thing. I will counteract that by saying probably him not saying anything is the best possible outcome for him, that he just shut the fuck up. He was probably briefed. Look, he was probably even told, don't say a fucking word. Like, probably don't say a thing, right? Probably briefed. But if not, at the very least, he was told, these are the things you can't say. These are this is the list of all the things you can't say. Or he was straight up told, shut up. Because I would have assumed, and that's my working theory, is that he was just told to not say anything. Because, as far as I understand, because I didn't watch the match, and maybe someone who did watch the match can confirm this, but Michael Cole and not Damian Sandow. What the fuck is it? Bad news Barrett, they didn't throw to him at any given moment, right? They didn't go, Adam, what an impressive move by Rhea Ripley. Like, they never said that, right? Or was it the Rhea Ripley match? What match did he even sit on? It doesn't matter. Like they didn't throw to him at any given moment. So I would assume that the indication was very clear. Shut the fuck up. Don't say a goddamn word. And like I said, quite frankly, that probably would have been the best outcome. Because you just think about it in your brains for a second. This guy who owns a scrap metal processing company, who dabbles in NFTs and crypto, and who's been charged with scamming people in the past, wanted to sit down at commentary for this specific match, for Rhea versus Jade. Think about all the things that could have come out of his mouth in this circumstance. And I promise, 1,000,000,000,000,000 bullets were dodged. It was quite possibly the best movie could do. Anyway, Adam Weissman has now etched his name into WrestleMania lore history. Unlike our boy, but Jacques Molière. However, Jacques has etched his name into the lore of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. And that, friends, that is much more
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Molière. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Okay.
I'm a nunchuck master. And I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
Hoo-yah! It's nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. You're a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, you. And it is nice to see you, DGMC, member of the channel as well. Hello, hello. The Coratry, nice to see you as well. It is a pleasure to have you. He may be mobbed up. He does have a lawsuit out against a former employee who said he disposed of bodies. Listen, I don't want to throw aspersions here, but you know, if this were a fantasy movie, you know, a fantastical tale of fiction, about a man owning a processing company in New York, in the state of New York, that recycles metal, I've got a couple of scenarios here that are popping into mind. I'm not saying those are real. I'm saying in the context of if this was a fiction, if this was Fantasyland. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It is nice to see you. BJ Dixon, it is nice to see you as well. Welcome. Am I ready for Dynamite on Wednesday? I am always, especially when you have Will Ospreay versus Dangerous Mark Davis. Got to call him the Dangerous Mark Davis. So here's our board. Here's our stuff. So as I was saying before we got into the until we got the thing. Hey JD, nice to see you. Welcome. You missed the Jacques Molière. You can go back. You can scrabble back, live the moment, and then hit the little live button and come back and meet us back over here. That's amazing. So yeah. So I wanted to watch more stuff from WrestleMania week this year, but then I did. Is what I want to say. I did end up watching a few things, but you know, with what's been going on with Mama Hayes, well, I want to, you know, I can't stay in front of the TV as much as I can, you know. So you know, and there's a lot of stuff also that I did want to watch that either did not make tape or wasn't streamed, or did make tape and will be available later, such as the Marvelous show, which apparently is going to be on Wrestle Universe, which is pretty rad. Such as the New Texas Pro. No, New Texas Pro is that's not what I meant. West Coast Pro. The West Coast Pro show apparently is going to be available like later this week, right? Like on Wednesday, something like that. They said that the show was going to be available, where Chris Hero wrestles again, does a 5-minute exhibition with Sanka, and I'm like, okay, yes, you know, it's Thursday. I thought Wednesday or Thursday. I thought it was Wednesday. I guess Chris doesn't want to compete with his boss. He doesn't want to make his boss unhappy, so he's like, okay, we'll do it Thursday. Maybe Carlos Silva will get upset, and he'll be like, start pulling TNA talent from West Coast Pro things. So there were a few things like that I didn't watch. I did end up watching the CMLL show. I ended up watching the Despy Death Invitational. I watched those, and I picked up a couple of matches here and there, and I also watched the Joey Janela Spring Break, and I should not have. Yeah, that wasn't very good. But see, that's the thing, is that, it's Friday night. I'm at home. I come back from, all of this stuff that I had to do. I come back. I got nothing. Like that needs attention, that needs to be done. So I'm like, okay, I'll be able to just like pull the plug, decompress, do anything at all, right? And I'm like, and I look at the schedule, and I'm like, oh, well, the Janela show's starting in about an hour. I'll watch that. And because if anything, like I was like, look, I'll watch this. I'll feel, part of something as it's happening, instead of saying to myself, which what I do oftentimes is, I'll go back and watch it another, whenever I have a minute. There was no point. I'm like, okay, look, I'll jump in and I'll watch it. I'll just jump in and I watch it. And the fact that the show started late, that they had to reset the countdown timer like 2 or 3 times, that should have been a sign. I should have picked up. Well, I think it was a sign, and I was just too dumb to not pick up on it, because I think it was a sign telling me you can still back out of this. That was awful. That was not a good show. That really was not a good show. The Spring Break. The opener was good. I thought Brody Lee Jr. demonstrated potential. I think he's pretty good for the amount of work that he's put in at the age of 14 years old, right? But it also didn't have to go like 40 minutes either. Like it did not have to go that long just to give us a showcase of the kid, right? It really didn't have to go that long. And Joey Janela worked his fucking ass off in this match too. Like, he worked extremely hard, bumping and making sure that everything that Brody did was golden. But then the rest of this show, man. The rest of this show. Alley Cat versus Effie was a disaster. That was a terrible match. Atticus Cogar. I think it's Cogar, right? I've always been pronouncing it Cogar, like cougar, like we say in French on cougar. So I say Cogar without the U, so Cogar, but it's Cogar, right? He's extremely bad at professional wrestling. I don't know what that guy had to say to Brett Lauderdale to have him come back after all the fucking shit that he pulled. But he has to be thanking Brett Lauderdale every fucking day. He's got to send him texts every fucking day saying, thank you, Brett. Thank you so much, Brett. Because I do not know who else would book this guy. He is awful. Awful. And the thing is that, when they fired up the match, they had this little video, right? This intro promo, I guess, this pre-tape from Cogar. I'm going to keep calling him Cogar. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And they do this where they introduce the reason for the match, right? As if the GCW World Championship wasn't enough. There's the idea that Cogar is there basically saying, yeah, I'm fighting Hayabusa, but I know you're not the real Hayabusa because the real Hayabusa was a deathmatch freak and he had the scars to prove it. You got nothing. So when I'm done with you, you're going to have your own scars when I'm done with you. And I'm like, that's a neat little premise, right? But clearly Hayabusa said, that's not going to work for me, brother. And like nothing even remotely violent happened. So that defeated the purpose of the match. And then when things led to the possibility of there perhaps having violent things happen, aka the skewers, Kogar didn't know how to use them. Like scratching him across his back and across the mask. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing here? This is lame. It's so bad. Now, that being said, look, that being said, 0-1 let this happen too. So, they didn't like zero in here. They didn't like focus on what was going on here and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to have our guy do this or be involved in this kind of angle or lose our top guy. Gonna send him to the United States to lose to Atticus Kogar? Jesus Christ. Absolute disaster. And it's interesting because the only match that I thought was good, like legitimately good, on this show is very interesting to me. Because it's all the match was filled with AEW guys and one WWE guy. And that was the match that was like, yeah, all right, this is pretty good. This is fun. This is really good. Yeah, the Jurassic Express thing later was, it was fine. And, I know what it was meant to do. It was meant to, bring Marco Stunt back into the fold, essentially, but Sam Stackhouse stinks. He is so bad. He's bad. He's just bad. I know, like, oh, he can do an Enziguri. You know what? Mabel could too, and he stunk. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not gonna sit around and go, oh wow, he did an Enziguri. It's like when the rest is awful, right? And then Marco Stunt announces that he's back in wrestling, right? That he basically ends the match. He's all in the ring and he says, "I'm back." It gets a big pop from the crowd. So I guess we're done. We're done selling cars, I guess. Or maybe not. Maybe he still has a day job. Maybe he's gonna turn into a weekend warrior, and he's just gonna do the thing. I don't blame him though. Let's say he did just like, chuck it all. I don't blame the guy. I couldn't sell cars. You're going from being a professional wrestler who has toured the country, who's been on national TV, and next thing you know, you have a guy breathing down your neck saying you got to meet your monthly quotas there, Mr. Fun Size. I mean, Jesus, I don't blame him. I don't blame him for a second. Okay. Here's my backseat psychoanalysis of Marco Stunt's path to return to pro wrestling. Like the guy stops, okay? The guy stops wrestling. He says, I'm banged up. I have neck injury. I have back injury and all this stuff. And I got to stop. I just got to stop wrestling. And if he was injured to the point of not being able to wrestle anymore, then why is he suddenly making a comeback? I'm just saying. I'm just putting that there. Because if I'm in his shoes, if my contract is not renewed with AEW and I go back and then it's like I have to hit the indies again, I wouldn't blame the guy for being discouraged. I wouldn't blame the guy for having a crisis of conscience where he's like, what the fuck am I doing with my life then? I'm like, I've just left the most exciting job I've ever had. I'm on national TV every week. And now I have to go sell cars. This fucking sucks. No, sorry. I jumped and now I have to go back and do the indie grind. I don't want to do this. There we go. Sorry. I jumped a step here. It says I have to go back and grind on the indies. I don't want to do this anymore. And so I don't blame him if he was discouraged. It's like, fuck all this shit. You know, my career took a high and that's it. I'm like, I can't do this anymore, right? I think that's fine. He goes off, he finds his job, starts selling cars. And then, you know, sort of gets the itch again. You know, he starts getting the itch, starts seeing all of his pals wrestling, and he probably keeps in contact with a bunch of them, right? It's like, God damn it. God damn it. Then it's like, then he decides to return to wrestling, and maybe it's not even a question of wanting to be on national TV anymore. Maybe now it's more of a question of, this is what I should be doing. This is what I'm meant to do. You know, I haven't been as happy in all my life as when I was doing this kind of thing. And I don't, if he had to take a long walk to come back to where he wants to be, there's nothing wrong with that. It can even cement even stronger, you know, his love for what he does. Considering that, like I said, he dropped his job at the dealership to come back and wrestle, I guess, full time back on the indie circuit, right? Then, you know, good for him. I mean, that, you know, I've always had a little soft spot for Marco Stunt. It's fine. I'm happy for him. What's his name? KC Orso, KJ Orso, Fuego, Fuego del Sol. Man, that guy should not be on the indies, especially not slumming it in GCW. That guy is too good. He's too good of a heel. That guy's a major league talent. He is so good at what he does. You know, and he probably should have just like, what I'm assuming there is like, his contract wasn't renewed, and he was like, and he hit the ground hard. He's like, I'm going to reinvent myself. And I think he's done a fantastic job. Is he a great wrestler? He's perfectly acceptable. I don't think he's anything great, but when it comes to his personality, when it comes to his heeldom, I think he's excellent. I think he's right up there. His promos are great. He's convincing. He's got energy and backbone. He projects, which is more you can say from a whole bunch of the people that I saw on this fucking show. You know, look, you know, does AEW give him another look and another call? Does TNA do that? Does can he head on over to WWE? I don't know, but this guy should, like, he's too good. He's too good to be slumming around with Sam Stackhouse. Just as simple as that. Anyway, but it was an interminable show. Just a show that would not fucking end. And the thing is that I appreciated the main event probably more than a lot of people, at least in my circles, did. I thought the kid was again, he showed tremendous skill and possibilities for a fucking 14-year-old. A lot of people said, "Oh, I saw it like, oh, he's like Nick Wayne." It's no. He's not like Nick Wayne has been good for a long fucking time. Nick Wayne has been like good. You know, I don't remember many people saying Nick Wayne is very good for a 17-year-old. The commentary I'd hear would more be like, Nick Wayne is so fucking good and he's only 17. You see the difference? I think Brody Lee Jr. could have gotten into trouble with that one. Don't want Brody King coming and smashing down my door here saying what I'm about to say. See, I was going to say it again. Brody Lee Jr. is good for a 14-year-old who has just started training. But I'm not going to say the opposite because I'm also not going to sit here and nitpick a 14-year-old who basically had a 40-minute exhibition match, right? I'm not going to sit here and go and poke holes in his game because there are holes in his game, but you know, he's fucking 14 years old. He's just started training. He's picking it up. He's good. You know, am I going to sit here and tell you that he's he's picked it up like Kurt Angle? No. I'm also not going to bury a 14-year-old boy. Warren versus Brody Jr. in a shoot fight. Who wins, Brody? What are you talking about? I can't take that kid. I can't take any kids who have hit puberty. You know, send me your 5-year-olds. I'm completely okay with that. Marco is better than most people on the average GCW show, to be honest. Yeah. Yes. Because he's also an excellent seller. He's very good at selling. How old is Orso? He's 30 years old. He's 30. My God. He's fine. He's got a long career ahead of him. Yeah. And then, so look, it was my own mistake and I stayed up really late to watch the match. And I was wondering to myself, to watch the card, I should say. And I was like, why am I not just going to bed? Why am I not just like ejecting here? But I felt, it felt weird to not have watched a single WrestleMania week show live. I was like, I got to at least do that, right? Had it been any other show. But the CMLL show was very good. Of course, had the incredible Blue Panther versus Ultimo Guerrero match, which I'm sure most of you have heard about at this point. Just an awesome fucking match. Awesome stuff. And you see, here's the thing. It's like, Blue Panther is exactly like the Nick Wayne comparison, right? Where Blue Panther is so good that he's not so good for a 65-year-old. He is so good and he's 65 years old. He's still tremendous. It's incredible. So anyway, you know, Orso coming back to AEW and getting over before Sammy would be peak comedy. That's suddenly something I want to see. Now you've piqued my interest here. And then of course there was the WrestleManias, which I did not watch, as you know. However, I did go back to watch the main events, which is what I figured I was going to do. I did not watch them live. I watched them in the aftermath because I was just waiting for. I was waiting for people to say, to sort of give an assessment, right? And they were basically the night 1, night 2 main events were just like such polar opposites. I had to watch both. And I agree with most assessments that Roman versus Punk was a terrific main event, was a terrific match, and And that did indeed feel like a WrestleMania match. And Orton and Cody was just like, it bore me to tears. And I don't know what else anyone was expecting in a fucking Randy Orton main event. I don't know what anyone else was expecting. I cannot stand this revisionism that exists with modern WWE fans. They're like, Randy Orton is so good at this and he's good at selling. Oh, but all the wrestlers say that he's the greatest wrestler to work with. Yeah, because he always takes extra care of the other guy, which is not a fault. That is a quality, don't get me wrong. But that's why everyone fucking loves working with Randy Orton, because Randy Orton's going to take real fucking good care of you in the ring. Of course, all the old guys are like, oh, he's perfect. But the truest, most honest review you can give for this match is it's boring. That is the most honest thoughts you can give, because it was infinitely boring with an undescribably bad finish that I still don't understand what the finish was. I still don't understand what the motivations were. I don't understand why suddenly Cody was cheating. I don't understand why suddenly he started becoming the heel. I don't know why Randy Orton RKO'd Charles Robinson. Well, he was blinded, Warren. Yeah, but he didn't become stupid. He knew Cody was right in front of him. He suddenly did not become an idiot just because he got poked in the eye. And then you have McAfee coming in with the referee shirt. And then commentary says, like, to justify the fact that he's an official, that he's someone who can actually count a pinfall. Oh, well, I guess I guess he's in with the higher ups, as it was rumored on the internet. The company that doesn't listen to the internet, right? Always fucking referencing the internet. I hate this company so fucking much. Like, just one match that I listened to on the Saturday show. One match from the Saturday show that I watched. And I'm like, I fucking hate this company so much. I really don't like it. It makes my skin crawl. Bad News Barrett. I don't know what. I can't stand his voice. I cannot stand it. And people say, oh, no one's complaining about him. I can't stand him. I can't stand it. The gravelly, obnoxiously loud voice. No, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Anyway, back to Pat McAfee, who's running to the ring, right? And he's got the ref shirt out and he counts. And Cody kicks out. Why did Cody kick out? Like, there's no way Pat McAfee was a referee in this match. An official referee, I mean. Like, why did Cody kick out in the first place? That didn't make sense. And then why didn't he do a fast count? That's also something that doesn't make sense. And then why did Randy Orton then knock him out, do an RKO, if this was clearly part of their plan? Because then I was like, oh, wait, hang on. Cody was probably in cahoots with Pat McAfee the whole time. But then I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense, because if Cody wins, then McAfee has to leave WWE. You see how, like, nothing made sense to me. I was trying to think of, trying to create the headcanon as to why all of this was happening on this fantastic edition of Saturday Night Raw. Because let's be honest, this was a Monday Night Raw ass main event. The only reason it wasn't a full on Monday Night Raw main event is because the match lasted like 23 minutes or whatever. That's the only reason. If it had been Monday night, it would have lasted 12. And it would have probably been a better idea. But you know how everyone was saying, oh, they're setting up Backlash through WrestleMania, at least for this feud? That's exactly what happened. They ended up just setting up a feud for the B show of all B shows, right? Fucking Backlash. It's preposterous. Thank you very much, DGMC, for the very generous super chat. I appreciate it tremendously, man. Thank you so much. It reads, if Punk Reigns is the best Mania main event in 10 to 15 years, then it truly speaks how middling and soulless, except when fans have to forcibly cause course correction, WWE has been for decades. LOL. You know how it came. You know how. Thank you again for the super chat. I appreciate it. And you know what? How this even connects even more in my brain. How this even connects even more. They were touting the fact that they were also touting the fact that this was like Roman Reigns' like 12th consecutive, WrestleMania or whatever. It was like his 12th consecutive main event or something like that. He beat Hulk Hogan's record. I wonder if there's a connection there. I wonder if we can do a little Venn diagram there. Anyway, it was an extremely boring match that finished with an incomprehensible main event angle. And Cody retains, and I really thought they did the double turn, and I think a lot of people thought they did a double turn in this match. And look, who knows? Maybe on Friday night, the SmackDown after WrestleMania, which is something that WWE considers to be a thing now. The SmackDown after WrestleMania. Maybe there will be some big revelation, and Cody will become a heel, but he won't, because he was actually talking about it in an interview, so it's not going to happen. It's just as simple as that. He talked about it in an interview, so it's not going to happen. Anyway, as for Roman and Punk, well, look, I thought it was a very, very good match. I thought it was very, very good. If you wanted me to slap the star rating on it, I'd probably give it like 3 3/4. I thought both guys worked super hard. I thought CM Punk worked very, very hard in this match. Like, you could tell that this was a match that was meaningful to him. People who watch WWE more than I do told me flat out that this was the best match he's had since coming back to the Fed. I have no doubt. I haven't watched anything really that I can recall, which is always a bad sign, that I can't recall your matches if I've seen them. And he's very good. He was very good. I thought Roman was very good. I thought Roman looked the part of champion. It kind of makes me wonder if the build had been any better than the "you're old, no, you're old, I'm sorry for calling you old, well, you're still old" build. Could have been anything. I think this match could have been really fucking hot. I think that could have been really, really hot. I thought it was good. Of course, once you have a match where everyone sort of goes, yeah, this was really well worked and really, really, hard-working match, then WWE fans lose their minds and they're like, 5-star classic, 5 stars, 5 stars. And I'm like, oh my God. That was not a 5-star match. I'm sorry. It was not a 5-star match. To me, it's not even a 4-star match, but I know for some people it is, and that's fine. Like, I'm not going to split hairs. I'm not going to split hairs over a 1/4 star. But I thought they did tremendous work, both of them, both Roman and CM Punk. They both worked really, really hard. And the match felt big and it felt good. What more do you want? What more do you want? So there you go. I guess those are my overall thoughts, because I didn't watch anything else. I've got nothing to add to anything. I heard, I read, I saw that WrestleMania Night 1, the Saturday show was disastrous, right? I heard it was just a complete hunk of junk. And the second one was better. I think it was Rich Latta that said mid is a step up when talking about night 2, which is an incredible line. Yeah, look, that's it. That's the extent of my WWE WrestleMania coverage. Next year, we're flying to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, folks. Excited yet? Anyway. But yeah, look, I guess overall, I guess my final thoughts, at least on the stuff that I did watch, is as follows. There is an incredible dichotomy between, in regards to the talent that is out there working the indies and the talent that is out there like signed to a promotion, right? There's a huge gap. Like I said, I watched Despi's Invitational, the Deathmatch Invitational. I watched the CMLL show. I watched the New Texas Pro show, which was very good. I enjoyed the New Texas. Did I say West Texas Pro? New Texas Pro. Because anyway, it doesn't matter. There's an incredible divide between people on the indies and people who work the main promotions, and then there's people who hang around GCW, and I don't know what to say. It's an indictment on where we are, I think, as wrestling fans, and I think it's an indictment of where we are as wrestling fans, that these are the shows that bring in people, that have like hundreds of people showing up for the shows, and we're unable to slap together shows with high level talent doing incredible stuff because there's not a lot of people who show up. And I think that's part of the reason why. I think that is the reason why the indies are suffering in the US as bad as they are. Because look, Effie and Ali Catch was a long-term story that was supposed to have this incredible emotional payoff, and it was a legitimately terrible match. Atticus Cogar is running around with the GCW World Championship, which, technically speaking, if we are all in agreement that GCW is the biggest indie promotion in the United States right now, we should be considering this to be the top title of the independents, right? And he's awful. I heard he wrestled Matt Tremont. Is there a match I would want to watch less than Atticus Cogar and Matt Tremont? These are your main events. These are the things that you're like, yeah, we're going to draw. E- Everyone that got excited over Hayabusa coming to the United States suddenly got a lot less excited when it was announced that he was going to fight Kogar. Everyone was like, "Ah, oh, what a waste." And they were right. The Indies are in a real bad spot. And they're probably going to stay in a real bad spot as long as WWE and AEW continue to have an arms race for talent. As long as there's a war for signing new talent, the Indies are not going to get any better. And it's probably going to stay in this state for a while. You know, chat saying, we never appreciated how good we had it with PWG. And yes, and not just PWG. We can go back and think of, back to Gabe's Evolve, right? Or before that, DGUSA, where you'd have these truly high level indies coming in, just tearing the place down with incredible talent. Matches that you couldn't see anywhere. You know? So it's like, it's become what it is today because look, AEW is the mainstream continuation of PWG, which is why we will probably never have another Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show ever, right? And as long as WWE and AEW are just signing up talent before they really are ready, quote unquote, they're going to be scooped off the indies really, really soon, and the indies are just going to continue to suffer. And I don't blame any talent that says, you know what, I want to get picked. Yeah, I want this contract. I want to make a bit of money. Some guaranteed money. Yeah, I want to do this. So I don't blame the Starboy Charlies and the Maya Worlds and the Marcus Mathers. Don't blame them for going up and saying, nope, no, all right. And especially talent, let's say like Lainey Luck, who's been grinding on the indies for over a decade, I think at this point. She's like, and she's been around. Like she's wrestled all of these people. She's wrestled most of the women that you see wrestling in these in these big TV spots. She's wrestled them often. She's probably like, well, when's my turn? Why not me? Anyway, the big rumor is that Allie Katch is going to get a WWE ID contract. So that's probably one of the reasons that she has to leave the territory, which is fine. Gabe was again saying some nice things about her. I think it's because she had a match a couple of months ago or a month ago? Fairly recently. She had a match with Lainey Luck, who is the current WWE ID Women's Champion. And the thing was that if she won, well, she'd get a WWE ID contract, but she lost. But she's always, it's like I was telling Kristen, because Kristen refused to watch the show, which was, again, pretty smart. I was like, I'm not watching that. And I told her, I said, look, I hadn't seen Allie Katch in a long, long time. And I was like, man, I mean, she's dropped a lot of weight. She really looks good. She's done the hair dye and everything. And I told her, she looks like someone who just got signed. She looks like someone who's been signed. I don't know. I feel like her leaving the territory is meaningful on that level. Anyway, those are my overall thoughts. But listen, I still have some WrestleMania week stuff I want to see. I'm very excited to see the West Coast Pro Show. Apparently was very good. Very excited to see the Marvelous Show. That too apparently was very good. Does anyone know if the Stardom Show did that make tape anywhere? Because I haven't seen it show up anywhere. That's something I would like to see too. Juggalo Championship Wrestling, second highest in ticket sales besides GCW. I know. You know, the flagship boys, Rich and Joe, made a very compelling case to say that Irony Wrestling never really left and that it's still around and it's better / worse than ever. And I have to agree. I think they're right. I think Irony Wrestling is still here. I think it's still people just want to come in and, you know, have some fourth wall breaking fun. But this is all to the expense of really great wrestling. And it is what it is. Warren, you run the biggest wrestling company in the world, and Danhausen is by far the best thing going in said company. How do you feel? I'm going to Disneyland. Is that the thing I'm supposed to say? It felt like that kind of setup. Thank you for the super chat, DGMC. I appreciate it tremendously. Very generous of you again. Thank you. I at this point put Danhausen in the main event of WrestleMania Night 2 next year, right? And then he can Stardom was on Triller. Ah, shit. Okay. Well, then I should be able to find it. I mean, I should be able to pay for it. That means it's out there somewhere and I really just missed it. So I'll catch up with that too. And it's nice to see you, MLA all day. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, what more can I say here? No review of Saraya's glorious return? No. She's always a WWE girl at heart. Even after all the times that they made fun of her and they shit on her and decided to not let her do things, and you know, and her future boss made fun of her sex tape. You know, she's just a WWE girl at heart. Tee hee. I'm so happy to be back with the ladies, with the girls. Does Tony Khan, another super chat by DGMC, thank you again, man, I appreciate it. Does Tony Khan and Russo becoming buddies, hey, hang on a second, whoa, pump the brakes. Does TK and Russo becoming buddies mean that we'll get Officer Colt Cabana? This is something you really want, right? Officer Colt Cabana is one of your bits. It's one of your bits. I'll read this fucking super chat here. Does Tony Khan and Russo becoming buddies mean that we'll get Officer Colt Cabana as JCW champion again? Racist cop as my world champion, huge ratings, bro. There you go. I hope not. Look, honestly, I don't care. I don't care. I do not care about Juggalo Championship Wrestling. I really don't. Just because McDonald's sells the most burgers doesn't make the Big Mac prestigious. This is true. This is very true. I saw Punk's attempt at a Superman punch. I ain't fooled. You know, the thing here, if we really want to like get into the nitty gritty of things, and I do want to move on. I don't, Christ, it's already 8:41 my time. You know, Phil is getting old and he can't move as well as he did. He really can't. He just can't. That's something that stood out to me in the match. Like, he was fine, don't get me wrong. But it's not that same explosive CM Punk that we once knew. What would Chikara even do with her? Doesn't even meet their working standard. What would WWE even do with her? Excuse me. Doesn't even meet their working standard. We're talking about Alley Catch here. I don't know. All right. I want to talk about the unfortunate passing of Mark Hildreth, a.k.a. Van Hammer from the WCW days. He has passed away We learned that from his longtime friend Mark Miro, who shared the unfortunate news on social media today. Yesterday, April 19th, excuse me. And I'm gonna read what John. It was John Pollock, right? Yeah, of course, because John is very good at the obituaries. Just gonna read through the obituary that John provided for Van Hammer here. Hildreth spent nearly his entire career with WCW after he was spotted by Dusty Rhodes and signed right after he began wrestling in 1991. He was considered exceptionally green, but had the coveted physique and was a constant recipient of a push at various times throughout his tenure. After serving in the U.S. Navy, he left his home state of Maryland and trained under Boris Malenko in Tampa, Florida. His class included Mark Mero. Hildreth had one match at North Georgia Wrestling, which was affiliated with Dusty Rhodes, who was back in WCW as its booker in 1991. Miro was contracted for a tryout with WCW, and Hildreth served as his opponent. Both were signed. According to Hildreth, Dusty openly compared him to Hulk Hogan and saw him as a major star. Dusty really did like him. That is true. His on-screen persona was Heavy Metal Van Hammer, where they shot an expensive music video and introduced him at the Clash of Champions special in September 1991, squashing Terry Taylor in less than a minute, which is fine. I actually believe it's a rite of passage for wrestlers at the time to squash Terry Taylor and keeping his matches short. Now, if I remember correctly, like the music video cost like a ridiculous amount of money to produce, and that got a lot of heat on him from the boys backstage, where they're like, "What the fuck, why aren't they giving us that money? Why aren't they paying us more? Why are they spending all this money on you? Fucking rookie green kid, I'd love to play it, but I feel like I'd get copyrighted anyway. Go check it out. Van Hammer Heavy Metal. His physique was a major factor in the confidence the company had, with Hildreth acknowledging his reliance on steroids when reflecting in a 2014 interview with the Palm Beach Post. Here is the quote. "You're definitely more durable on steroids. You can work through injuries and heal more quickly. And then there's the fact that people who build their bodies often predicate their self-esteem on how they look. That was true with me." As Van Hammer, he went on a 2-month undefeated streak until losing to Cactus Jack at the November 1991 edition of Clash of Champions. From Mick Foley's book, Have a Nice Day. If it's the quote, I think it's okay. It is the quote confirming what I remembered. Hammer had two things working against him. One, he was given a push well before he was ready for it. And two, he was given the gimmick of a heavy metal guitar player, even though he couldn't play a lick. Hammer was also a natural heat getter with the boys. He didn't mean to. He was actually a nice guy, but he had a tendency to bury himself with his ways. Statements like, "I came here to save the company," didn't sit well with guys who'd busted their asses for years and didn't have their own $25,000 music video. As a result, most guys didn't care to help him out or even have a decent match with him. I, on the other hand, saw him as a challenge, like a piece of clay that I could mold. Instead of looking at his faults, I chose to look at his strengths, which were, he was an exceptional natural athlete and he was willing to do whatever I wanted. And I wanted to do a lot. Oh boy. It became a pattern throughout his career where he'd go on a big winning streak and ultimately never ascend to the next level and slowly fade back down the card. In 1992, his big moment was winning the Jesse Ventura Arm Wrestling Challenge by beating Ron Simmons in the final. Months later, he was on the other side of the monstrous push as Sid Vicious squashed Hammer in 35 seconds at Slamboree. Van Hammer left WCW in 1993 and had a 2-night tryout with the World Wrestling Federation in July in matches against Virgil and Damien Demento, which didn't result in a hiring. Jesus Christ. not exactly stellar dancing partners. He was out of the industry until being rehired by WCW during the Monday Night War in late 1997 as a member of Raven's flock. It lasted several months before beating Perry Saturn to break free of the group and adopted a hippie persona in 1998. That was unfortunate. After Kevin Nash became Booker in January 1999, Van Hammer got his next push as he went on another winning streak in the spring, including a pay-per-view win against Mikey Whipwreck and setting up a loss to television champion Rick Steiner at Bash at the Beach. His next character was Major Stash in the Misfits in Action with Hugh Morris, Lash LaRue, Chavo Guerrero, and Major Guns. With an obvious drug reference assigned to Hildreth. Well, I mean, it could have been so much worse when you consider some of the other names that were passed around in the Misfits in Action group. He was a short run. He had a short run with the group and ended his WCW career after a loss to the Demon Dale Torborg on July 12, 2000 edition of Monday Nitro. That's incredibly sad. He was a high-paying deal. He had a high-paying deal with WCW, making over $225,000 in 1999. Oh my fucking God. And he had to transition to life after wrestling as he was approaching 42 after his WCW exit. $250,000 he was making in the 90s. That's crazy. He worked the independents and did one tour for Big Japan Pro Wrestling in late 2001 and largely ended his wrestling career by 2003, coming back for one final match in 2009 for Maryland Championship Wrestling. He acknowledged a dependency on steroids and heavy drinking after WCW as he tried to find new career paths. He had gotten sober, but in January 2020, he made national news when he was charged with driving under the influence and hitting a 5-year-old boy on a bicycle. Hildreth would plead guilty to the charges, including leaving the scene of the crime, and received a 1-year probation sentence and has had his driver's license revoked. The child was taken to the hospital, but didn't suffer serious injuries. He had previous DUI charges in 1985 and 2004. Miro stated that they are awaiting the results of an autopsy for the cause of death. He was 66 years old. So that's a pretty good overall picture of the career of Van Hammer. And yeah, I mean, the guy, I mean, just look at him. Just look at him. You know, Dusty going around saying, yeah, you remind me of Hulk Hogan. I'm like, sure. Got the big baby blue eyes and the long flowing hair. Blonde hair. Jacked. But then, you know, it is what it is, you know. It's like, you know, I don't think anyone will ever really remember Van Hammer for the high quality of his matches, right? Yeah, I don't think that's what anyone's going to remember. I think, you know, I think the obituary does a good job, sort of, you know, implicitly laying it all out there, saying, well, you know, his career was a lot of attempts at a push, a lot of starts, a lot of stops, and but you know, nothing that sustained him to raise him above his station, and there was probably a bunch of reasons for that. So there you go. Van Hammer passed away, age 66. May he rest in peace. MIA versus the Filthy Animals with Young Dragons versus 3 counts to open the show. Yeah, pretty much. All right, I want to talk about this here. Much more so than CM Punk and, you know, with fans. Anyway, I want to talk about this article here that's been posted on postwrestling.com about something that appeared on social media on Saturday that led to the revelation that WWE had denied WrestleMania 42 credentials to Andreas Hale, ESPN reporter Andreas Hale. He was barred from covering the company's flagship event for its own broadcast partner. So this is what he tweeted. I will not be covering WrestleMania for ESPN. WWE denied my credentials and blocked my access. Neither I nor ESPN has been told why. You can speculate on the reasons, but if you want answers, ask WWE. The development comes 7 months after Hale drew widespread attention for grading the company's first premium live event on ESPN Unlimited a C in his editorial review. He has also reported on Janelle Grant's lawsuit. Post Wrestling previously reported in March that ESPN stopped using letter grades in its WWE PLE reviews after objections from WWE, even as Hale's UFC reviews continued to use the same grading format. In addition to PLE reviews, Hale has covered the Janelle Grant lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon for ESPN's digital platform. He reported on the suit when it was first filed in January 2024 and published a follow-up on April 2, noting that WWE did not respond to his outreach for comment on that story. At the time of publication, WWE had not responded to requests for comment from Post Wrestling. ESPN declined to comment. In the United States, WrestleMania 42 is streaming on ESPN Unlimited as part of a 5-year, $1.6 billion media rights deal that began last September. The first hour of Saturday's card will also air on ESPN2, with Sunday's first hour on ESPN's main channel. Hale's credential denial means that WWE's primary broadcast partner will not have its lead digital wrestling reporter on site for its biggest event of the year. Hale joined ESPN in 2024 as a combat sports reporter covering boxing, MMA, and professional wrestling. He brought more than 20 years of experience as a journalist with previous stints at the Sporting News, DAZN, Sherdog, and The Ring, among other outlets. He is also a regular host on SiriusXM's Fight Nation. When WWE's deal with ESPN Unlimited launched last September, Hale reviewed the inaugural PLE WrestlePalooza, assigning it an overall grade of C. His review praised the Stephanie Vaquer versus Io Sky match, but found the rest of the card underwhelming, including the Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre main event and Brock Lesnar's one-sided victory over John Cena. Hale defended the review publicly, telling Jonathan Coachman's Off the Ropes Sirius XM show, quote, I gave it a C and it deserved a C. The bigger issue is that if we can't be honest about how a show really is, then my journalistic credibility is at risk. My grades mean something, unquote. Hale went on to review the October Crown Jewel PLE, grading it a B. After that, the letter grades disappeared from his WWE reviews entirely, though his UFC reviews, including as recently as UFC 327 last week, have continued to use the format without interruption. As Post reported on March 10, multiple sources familiar with the matter confirmed that ESPN removed the letter grades from its WWE reviews after WWE raised objections. An ESPN source maintained at the time that the decision was ESPN's alone, but declined to explain the reasoning or address whether WWE had taken issue with the grades. WWE did not respond to Post's inquiries for that story either. I'm going to stop reading there because I'm going to start editorializing here. We have the facts. We know what's going on. Now it's kind of time to break things up here. Yeah, I mean, look, the basic thing you can say here, right? The very basic thing you can say, is that this is bullshit, because it is bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. Why is it bullshit? Why is it an issue? And why am I talking about this again? Well, because the whole thing, once again, in this circumstance that we just spoke about this not that long ago, is all about credibility. It's all about this wrestling media that exists that struggles to maintain any kind of credibility, and the people who do have credibility get cut off, right? Look, the premise here is very simple, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. The church and state promise is dead. The separation of the both, right? That's the headline here. That's what we're talking about. In September 2025, right, John Lasker, who is the vice president of digital media programming for ESPN, said editorial independence, when this all came together, he said it himself. Editorial independence was an quote unquote emphatic yes. And Matt Kinney, who is the vice president programming and acquisitions for ESPN, called it quote unquote unequivocal and invoked separation of church and state by name. Like, he used that analogy. 7 months later, WWE denied a credential to ESPN's lead digital wrestling reporter for the biggest show of the year, and ESPN declined to comment. The promise was a promise until it cost them something, essentially, right? And this all matters. All of this matters. And this is the timeline here. As we just mentioned, right? WrestlePalooza gets a C grade in September. Hale goes on Coachman's show and defends the grade publicly, says, rightfully so, his credibility depends on being honest, right? Crown Jewel gets a B in October. After that, the letter grades vanish. They stay on his UFC reviews, no problem, even as early as last week, right? And then April 2nd, he publishes the follow-up to the Janelle Grant lawsuit, and WWE doesn't respond to him reaching out to them to get their side. April 17, he's on ESPN. He is on ESPN on a WrestleMania roundtable. And the next day, April 18, his credential is gone. ESPN hasn't told why. You don't need to be told why. You know why. And it's bonkers. But it's bonkers for all of the ethical reasons. But it blows your mind even more when you take a minute to realize that this isn't a reporter from a rival outlet. This is ESPN. This is the company that just paid the $1.6 billion, paid WWE that $1.6 billion over 5 years to stream the PLEs. They're partners. They're business partners. WWE denied credentials to its own broadcast partner's lead digital wrestling reporter for WrestleMania. That's not a mistake. It's a message. And this is the message in case you don't understand it. The message is, this is what happens when your reporters cover us like journalists instead of hype men. We will deny you access. That is nuts. Here's something else that's nuts. ESPN shutting the fuck up about it. Declined to comment is what they said. That is also a choice. And ESPN, instead of saying decline to comment, they could have said, oh, we stand by Andreas Hale. We stand by our guy. He's an excellent reporter. He does it. We stand by him. They could have said that. They're raising the issue with WWE. They could have said, nothing and just like put another reporter in Hale's shoes and go to the event, right? They did none of that. They did none of that. When just a few months ago, right, they had Matt Kenny and the other guy, Lasker, who were both saying, no, it is very important to contain our journalists and make sure that their independence is protected at all costs, separation of church and state. Just a few fucking months ago, they're saying that publicly, and now they don't even have the balls to stand up for him. If I'm Andreas Hale, I am fucking blazing mad that the company, the outlet that I work for is not standing up against this bullshit. It's that they're bending over. No comment. No comment. The silence is the story here. That's the message. The message they're sending is through the silence. Access journalism, man, it doesn't usually show its seams this cleanly, right? We know it exists because if you consume any kind of media, you know access journalism exists, right? Usually it's soft coverage and softer follow-up, you know, and you have to, you really have to sort of scratch your chin and squint, you know, be like, is there some kind of exchange happening here for this kind of coverage, right? Here, WWE just like, they held up the receipt. They just showed it to everyone. Cover us on our terms or you don't get to cover us at all. And this is something that a lot of us have been, we've been talking about this when it comes, you know, in regards to multiple other outlets, like, you know, wrestling outlets. It's like, well, they have to play, you have to play nice with WWE or else you won't get any access. You'll get shut out. That's been a theme that we always talk about. Folks, if they're doing it to ESPN, it is very, very plausible to believe that they are doing it to wrestling media outlets, which are a fraction smaller in both size and influence than ESPN. WWE had the cojones to tell ESPN, we don't want your reporter there because he's been saying poo-poo things about us, and that hurts our fifis. So imagine, and I'm not naming names because I don't want to give the impression that I'm throwing someone under the bus or that I know things. I don't know shit, okay? I'm not going to name any names, but pick the first outlet, the first dirt sheet, whatever you want to call them, news site, whatever, that comes to mind. The first one that comes to mind. You have to wonder, are they under the thumb of WWE's access or not? And it's very plausible to believe. It's a reasonable belief to say, yes, they are. If ESPN is, and ESPN bows to it, it is very, very plausible. If a C grade costs you access and your continued grading of events, if your Janelle Grant follow-up costs you your Mania credentials, every ESPN reporter covering WWE just learned what the rules are, and not just ESPN, everyone else, every freelancer who wants to pitch WWE coverage to ESPN knows it too. Hale has been covering the Grant lawsuit since it was filed in January 2024. And he ran his report like all of us did, following the new allegations that came out on April 2nd with the new filing. The credential denial lands 16 days later. WWE has a massive ongoing legal liability that is actual journalism, not wrestling fan discourse. And the guy doing that journalism at ESPN has now been blocked from the biggest event of the year. If you are WWE and your corporate incentive is to minimize coverage of that lawsuit, you just achieved the opposite by pulling the credential. You've just you've legitimately you've legitimately Streisand affected yourself, and your broadcast partner let you do it. I don't understand what kind of hold this company has on ESPN. I'm going to tell you, I don't understand. I don't understand why ESPN, on top of giving them boatloads of money, they're like, yeah, we'll do what you want. At some point, like if I was giving someone that amount of money and they came in with demands, I'd be like, go sit down and wait for your fucking check. Go wait for your $500 million check that will be upcoming, and let me do my job. I don't understand the level of influence that they have. I don't understand how this is even possible. You know, we talked about this in March when the letter grades disappeared. At the time, the honest reads was that ESPN had already folded on the thing. And the question was how far they were going to go, how far the folding was going to continue. Well, here we go. That's been answered. Took us about a month. WWE asked ESPN to fold on the WrestleMania coverage. They just pulled the credential and ESPN said nothing. They didn't ask ESPN to say, don't send us Andreas Hale. They're just like, nope, Andreas Hale, not coming. Yoink. And we know they do that. We know WWE will wait to the day of the show to pull credentials because they've done it before. They've done this in the past to John Pollock, notably. Where he shows up, he goes all the way to WrestleMania, gets there, said, no, you no longer have the credentials. This has happened in the past. So this is not like something that comes out of nowhere. ESPN's been told what the rules are. They push back now or they don't. If they don't, the $1.6 billion that bought them a streaming deal and cost them their credibility on any WWE story that matters. That's essentially it. You know, Lasker and Kenny's answers are now going to be a permanent embarrassment. These are going to be two guys who in and about themselves, they have lost credibility. That's the kind of thing that gets dug up every time ESPN is going to publish something soft about WWE for the next 5 years. But then you could even go further and wonder, well, who else are they doing this to? Who else? Because I don't trust neither of these guys. Neither Matt Kenny, neither Matt Kenny or John Lasker. I don't trust either. Who would trust them at their word now? You can't state separation of church and state, you know, in the fall, and then decline to comment in April, and then say, yeah, we can do both. Both statements are true. One of them is a lie. One of them is a lie. And I think we know which one. I think we know which run. You know, I posted on Blue Sky that I did not understand how you can control an industry and be so flush with money and influence and still manage to be so insecure. I don't understand how WWE TKO can be like that. This is the biggest wrestling company in history. Publicly traded 5-year ESPN deal worth 1.6 billion smackaroonies. Monopoly leverage on broadcast partners, venue, talent, merch, ad slots. WWE TKO, they've essentially won. And they're immutable. And they cannot take getting a C grade. They cannot take a lawsuit follow-up, which is in the public interest. They cannot take a reporter doing the job the outlet that hired him wants him to do. That is not strength. That is the behavior of a company that knows exactly how much it has to hide and cannot survive being looked at honestly for even one fucking news cycle. And then what I'm afraid of is that all of this becomes abandoned and then we get full-on influencers from top to bottom. That's where we can start seeing the influencer pipeline coming in. Because the solution to being unable to tolerate coverage is to make coverage unnecessary. Don't credential Andreas Hale. Credential someone who films himself being shook in front of the WWE stage as it lights up and the pyros go off. Don't let a journalist into the press room. Let in the guy who does, a tier ranking of Dom Mysterio's mustaches. Don't book the reporter who covered Janelle Grant. Book the one who asks wrestlers for his Waffle House order. The content then still happens. The cameras are still there and it still circulates on social media. The highlights still get shared. The only thing that gets amputated is the part where someone might ask a real fucking question. And that's the trade. And this is what we're on the precipice on. That WWE doesn't want coverage. They want content about WWE that WWE likes. Those are different proposals. They're different products. One of them requires independent outlets to take the hit, and the other one requires a buffet of affiliate grade creators competing with each other to be the most pliable, right? Guess the one TKO is building in their media ecosystem, folks. Just go ahead and wonder which one it is. The Defenders are the part that makes me want to throw my fucking phone across the room when I read these types of stories. Because you can hear the argument being made in real time. It's just wrestling, man. Lighten up. Just enjoy the show. Hale was overrated anyway. Oh, did you see this one tweet he did in 2015? You don't need letter grades to enjoy a show. Who even reads ESPN anymore? Blah, blah, blah. All of it is designed to make you feel stupid for thinking that any of this matters. And the clever version of the same argument is the one I already wrote on Blue Sky, right? Like, why do you need journalists when you have influencers taking videos of themselves being shook and doing, fucking inane rankings and asking about Waffle House orders? Like, what? It's fine. Why do you need journalists when you have all of those? It's fine. It's all fine. Just enjoy the show. Except the thing you're enjoying is the version WWE wants you to enjoy. The Janelle Grant lawsuit exists, whether your favorite streamer mentions it or not, whether your favorite TikTok creator talks about it or not. The backstage culture is what it is, whether anyone with a credential has the guts to report on it or not. The historical record of this era is going to be written by someone. The only question is whether it's going to be written by journalists who had access when it mattered, or by, fucking archaeologists in the year 3025 working from leaked texts that they're going to pick up after the apocalypse melts everything down except the data centers. Because the current access economy guarantees the people in the room are not going to write that history. The thing that the influencer economy has actually done to us, the thing that's working against everyone who cares about this, like myself, is that it's trained an entire generation of wrestling fans to think this is what coverage is supposed to look like. Parasocial, buddy, everyone's part of the show, everyone's having a good time. Essentially, deeply unserious. A good interview is one where, the interviewer points his, acknowledges Roman Reigns, and they all sit around and they have a good laugh. They have a good joke. A good YouTuber will never mention the lawsuit. That's the aesthetic. That's the baseline. When you have someone like Hale show up and gives a C, and I haven't said this throughout all of this entire spiel. A C grade is a passing grade. It's fine. He didn't bury the fucking show. But when, nonetheless, someone like Hale shows up and grades a C and writes a follow-up to the grand story, it reads as aggressive instead of normal. That's the culture shift. Normal journalism now comes across as hostile. Compare this to, any other sport, and I understand. Let me switch that around. I understand that it's a problem that doesn't only exist in pro wrestling. It's something that exists in other sports as well. And that's what a lot of people say too. Well, it happens also everywhere in the NFL. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what happens on the other side of the fence. I really don't care. I couldn't give a rat's ass. And especially to try and justify what's happening here. Oh, well, it happens over here, so it's going to happen over here. No, we can push back. There should be pushback. It really should be that. But the WWE standard is so uniquely low, and it's getting lower and lower because every time they tighten the screws, the people inside the access tent defend the tent. If it's not clear, let me run this through you again. Here's what Hale's getting denied actually means for everyone else. It means that the ceiling for journalism in wrestling just got measured in public in front of everyone. And the ceiling is you can do one honest review and one lawsuit follow-up, and then you're out. That's your ceiling right there. And that's fucking low. Everyone else in that space now knows this. ESPN's silence confirmed it. Whoever this happens to next, like the next Andreas Hale, whoever there's going to figure it out, is going to have that number in their head whenever they sit down. One C grade, one follow-up. That's it. We're done. Is my career worth this? And the outcome is that we end up getting a wrestling media ecosystem where nobody who gets near the companies can tell you anything you couldn't read in a press release, essentially. And everything you actually need to know about the industry gets reported from the margins by smaller outlets, freelancers, blue sky accounts, people who pick up on court filings and stuff like that. But the mainstream gets hollowed out and gets replaced by Waffle House content. That's the outcome. And it's already most of the way there. Hale is not like something new. The reason I'm up in arms about it is because of how fucking blatantly obvious it is that WWE is not even trying to hide it anymore. The dam broke. So, yeah. Thinnest skinned people alive. The biggest fucking bunch of snowflakes I have ever seen. So much money, such a small ego, still operating like every paragraph that isn't a joyous celebratory press release is a personal attack. And the saddest part is that because of that influence that they have on the media, on their fans, is that they have a very good chance that they're going to win this. That we're all going to end up on the losing side of things again. because the replacements are already there. The influencers are already there. They're already shook. It's been built for years. They post daily. They do their tier rankings. They ask inane questions to the wrestlers. And they got the credentials that Andreas Hale lost. So there you go. Kristen Ashley, nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. It is so lovely to see you. Also a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel. Holy Toledo. Maybe they're so subservient to WWE because of Nick Khan's past with ESPN. Very likely. And Ari Emanuel's. They have, like, the influence that they have is insane. But it's like, the question then becomes, how much influence can you have to not block someone to whom you're already paying $1.6 billion to? And say, no, we're not going to do this. We're giving you all this fucking money. We've done enough. We have done enough. I guess the argument is, well, if your outlet produces negative press, well, how are you guys going to recoup your investment if the thing you're investing in is getting negative press? It's the only thing that makes sense. And then also when you think about it, it's like, it's insane. But this is where we're at now. Let's go back to our docket. Let's continue down this path here. I'm enjoying this. throwing some mud around, some mudslinging. I'm okay with this. Sid, the legendary Sid, was become a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. His son calls WWE's Hall of Fame induction, quote unquote, disrespectful as hell. Oh my. Oh my. The son of Sid, article off of the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. The son of Sid Udi said his father's induction into the WWE Hall of Fame on Friday was disrespectful as hell. Sid was inducted as part of the Legacy Wing on Friday night, along with Bad News Brown. Neither family spoke or was brought out on stage, though each family was shown in the audience after a video package aired. On Saturday, Gunnar Udi posted to Facebook the following. Thank you to everyone for all the love and support you've shown our family. It means the world, and I appreciate every single person who had my dad's back. Last night's so-called Hall of Fame induction for my father, Sid Udi, Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious, was straight up disappointing and disrespectful as hell. I'm glad my dad was big enough to put himself over even in death, because WWE damn sure wouldn't. I didn't see one single ad for him here in Vegas. The Hall of Fame gift shop had zero merch for my dad. Not a damn thing. But they were loaded with all the Dennis Rodman crap you could want. It felt like they just swept him under the rug like a footnote, rushing to get him out of the way. Maybe if we had waited another 20 years until all those jealous, insecure ex-colleagues were gone, the ones who could never match his athletic ability, his looks, or his unbreakable willpower to tell them no, he would have finally gotten the full induction he actually deserved. What an incredible call out that is. Because how many times, chat, have we speculated on this show that Triple H is doing all of this stuff to all of those old timers, because these were all guys that didn't respect him. He didn't respect them back, and now he's finally at the top, on the top of the mountain, and he can do whatever he wants, type of thing, right? How many times have we talked about this? And here you have Sid's son outright saying, yeah, maybe once these jealous sons of bitches were gone, the ones who could never match his athletic ability, looks, or his unbreakable willpower to tell them no. Oh, incredible stuff. Still, I'm trying to stay positive for my son's sake. I got to bring him, and he doesn't know what they did his grandpa. And he doesn't know they did his grandpa dirty. He just got to see his hero honored. That moment with my boy made it worth it. And at least we walked away with the real Hall of Fame ring. I'm adding pictures of it here because that's something solid we can actually hold on to, while the rest of this felt like a slap in the face. Rest in power, Dad. The master and ruler of the world got his flowers, even if WWE tried to shortchange you one last time. They were always jealous. Congratulations to Brad News Brown and Sid Vicious and Demolition. The legacy inductions began in 2016. The first class included Art Thomas, Ed Lewis, Frank Gotch, George Hackenschmidt, Lou Thez, Mildred Burke, and Pat O'Connor. The 2025 legacy inductees were Dory Funk Sr., Ivan Koloff, and Kamala. Yeah, nothing about softball, though. There's the ring. I mean, you're not going to find me in disagreement with anything that Gunnar Yudi said here. I'm not going to be in any disagreement. I really find the bit where he's straight out calling the old guys who are still around and were just jealous of Sid and couldn't stand Sid and whatnot. What if we had waited for them to be gone, right? A lot of people wonder why John Cena's retirement run felt the way it did, why it didn't feel deserving and whatnot. I'm like, well, you don't have to search very hard. And here's also the thing, right? Look, I understand that the WWE Hall of Fame is, it's the biggest Hall of Fame we have as wrestling fans. I know there's the Cauliflower Alley stuff, and I understand there's the independent Hall of Fame, independent wrestling Hall of Fame, and all that. I understand. I get that it's not I get that it's the most high profile one, but I am also someone who believes in its illegitimacy. I don't give a shit about the WWE Hall of Fame. I really don't. I gave up on this years ago when I realized that all it was really, when I realized that all it was another bargaining tool for Vince McMahon, just another something to, that he could use, that he could hold over wrestlers' heads who, once past their prime, all they really looked for was some kind of recognition for the effort that they put in. And then Vince just added whoever he wanted to, whoever it was, whoever he was on good terms with. He's just sure, you can bring them in. He really didn't care all that much. It's just more show. It's just more smoke and mirrors. That's why when people were finally Demolition are coming in, it's Demolition would have been in sooner if they hadn't been part of the CTE class action lawsuit. And what was the other one? There was another one. I think they sued him for pay back in the 90s, right? Demolition sued Vince twice. Demolition sued him twice. And it's not like, it's not like there's somewhere that you can go in and walk around and see the Hall of Fame and look at pictures and memorabilia, and that doesn't exist. The legacy wing. What wing? There's no wings. There's no wing. There's no legacy wing. There's not even a a main attraction wing. There's no wings. It's a piece. It's a crock of shit. It's more smoke and mirrors. Look, always keep in mind. Here's something that you can always keep in mind. China has never been inducted into this Hall of Fame as a singles performer, despite the fact that she probably could, especially when you consider that Queen Charmel is a part of the Hall of Fame. How does that even remotely begin to make sense? Makes no sense. Of course. It's a crock of shit is what it is. But like, I understand how you as a member of the family might see this as significant, because you are part of the because you're part of the legacy of this wrestler. I can understand, like, it can be different on that front, but as a wrestling fan, there's no interest. Like, guys, Stephanie McMahon was the headliner this year to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. She was their headliner. Okay. Like, it's not serious. It's not serious. Throw her in, sure, that's fine. But are you telling me that AJ Styles' career and significance in pro wrestling is dwarfed by the boss's daughter? Fuck out of here. Dumb to give Sid a legacy wing induction. He main evented Mania, for Christ's sake. Man, Sid was super duper pushed. What was it when he first joined the WWF back in the day? I think it was when he first joined, right? Do you remember that? Well, for those of you who are old enough to remember, of course, but in the lead up to Sid coming into the WWF, they had most wrestlers in the company cutting promos on how fearful Sid was and how much of a tough guy he was, and that they were, oh man, this guy's unpredictable. Oh, I don't know what, and that some of them were afraid and some of them were like, oh yeah. Like, everyone was gassing this guy up. Everyone was cutting promos on how much of a psychotic danger Sid was, and they can't believe he's coming to the WWF type of thing, What are we going to do? And like a dozen guys. He couldn't feud with all the guys at once. The point is that when Vince gassed up his entrance, his arrival to WWE so hard as this psychotic monster that even the WWF superstars were afraid / weary of. It's crazy. It's like, yeah, legacy wing. Oh, fuck off. Because, yeah, he did main event the Mania for them. I mean, he wasn't the greatest wrestler on earth, but see, like, Sid just had something. Sid had the intangibles. I mean, he had the size, he had the look, but he had the intangibles where you could easily disregard the fact that, he wrestled like a can of chicken soup. but what an entertaining can of chicken soup. You know what I mean? And this isn't this ain't even it's not a kaiju big battle joke that I'm making either. Anyway, good for Gunnar Yudi for going out there and saying, yeah, fuck this shit. Mike McCullough, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Who also happens to be a member of the channel. I wonder if Upstate Shredding CEO had Weinstein. It's yeah, money talks, right? Hey, Rory Starks, nice to see you. Welcome. I remember Sid cussing in a promo with Mean Gene saying, I don't give a damn. Gene looks so scandalized. Gene was so good at this because Gene was so foul-mouthed himself. He's such a foul-mouthed little bastard. It's like, can't do. Oh my God, you can't say that on TV. So good. I feel like I'm being gaslit when I hear podcasters, broadcasters, former wrestlers talk sincerely about who should be in the fake-ass WWE Hall of Fame. Yes. Yes, do feel gaslit about it. It's a pointless thing. It means nothing. And then they get introduced as two-time WWE Hall of Famer, right? That's what they do with Booker T, right? Two-time WWE Hall of Famer. It was like, what is... Two-time. Like, he's in twice. Oh. It's like, you're doing it wrong. I would do anything for a signed softball, legit, for real. For real, though. You getting that Sid softball with the Sid squiggle on it? That'd be rad as hell. Let's say we don't do that just yet. Okay, a couple of quick hitters. We got some quick hitting stuff that we can talk about here. Another article here from the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 Online talking about Josh Barnett's decision to end Bloodsport. Josh Nason here wrote the article. After making the surprise announcement Friday that he was ending his Bloodsport series, Josh Barnett went into further details as to why, confirming that it's not a hiatus and is closed unless something is done to get us where we need to go. Appearing on the Ariel Helwani show Monday, Barnett said there was no tragedy or bad thing that caused him to make the decision, but that in order to go forward with his vision, Bloodsport would need more capital, more employees, and an office, more than an indie promotion, and a lot less than WWE or AEW to be fully realized for how he views it. All right. Let's see if he can give us more insight into how he views it. For me, Bloodsport had an evolution of where it was trying to get to, and we're just not there. We're not close. For me, it was better to end it now than to keep it going and quite possibly diminish what the product is. He said he had been considering the shutdown for quite some time and something he had thought, quote, very deeply and heavily about, unquote. He had looked at sponsors and, quote, some outside elements to help with building towards the ultimate example is we weren't able to do it, unquote. He said, joking about a nice pitch deck he made for that effort. I had a timeline and we didn't meet those goals, he said. He said when he made the announcement, he wasn't trying to make a big deal out of it and didn't want it to come off as a gimmick or be insincere. He admitted to conflicting feelings in his own heart about whether that was going to be the case or not, but, quote, I feel like I made the right choice, unquote. Asked if Bloodsport could go on without him, he shut that down quickly, saying it wouldn't be revived under any other name, noting, quote, it's my show, my concept, unquote. He also said WWE had no influence on how their talent is booking, on how in how their talent is booking on his shows, and that both Paul Levesque and Nick Khan want their talent to get better and to get reps. He said he was backstage for Saturday's WrestleMania 42 card. All right. I'm going to be straight up with you all. I have not watched a blood sport in a couple of years because I just got bored. I got bored like probably around like the match that's photographed here. That was probably like the last, the Jon Moxley main event here. That was probably the last one I watched. I think because, okay. How about we twist this in a positive way? I think it is I think it's very good news that Bloodsport is coming to an end, because I think the concept has been tried out and run into the ground, and I think it's tired and we're good. I don't think we're losing anything of real value, in all honesty. I think that if the Bloodsport matches had ended like around 4 or 5, and people would be like, goddamn, how far could we have gone? I think we've seen how far we could go with it. And I don't know, it just became extremely uninteresting. And I find it became, more so uninteresting once WWE talent started coming, swarming into the shows more and more. All these people that WWE didn't have anything to do with, like Pete Dunne and Shayna Baszler, and then Shooter Natalia. I bet she's really upset, legitimately. Charlie Dempsey. Yeah, it's funny because Barnett says, Nick and Paul, they want their people to come in and do reps. They want them to get better. They're sending in Shayna Baszler, trained MMA fighter, successful MMA fighter. Shayna Baszler, Natalia, who's been, who trains, and Pete Dunne. Oh yeah, that Pete Dunne guy, he's got to get more reps in. What a stinker that guy is. He, I would love to know exactly what was in Josh Barnett's mind when he was like, I wanted to hit the vision that I have. I wanted to, have an office with staff and whatnot. Did he just want it to become its own promotion? Is that it? Did he just want it to have a promotion of work shoot fights that he could put on, every week, every month, whatever the fuck, and sell it on pay-per-view? Was that the thing? Maybe that's what he wanted to do, right? Maybe that's what he wanted. But the concept just played itself out. The concept was just like, we get it. And then the first few years you'd get the potential of some exciting new matches. You'd get people. Didn't we get Oni Lorcan and Mox? Wasn't that on a Bloodsport chat? I'm trying to remember where I saw Oni Lorcan versus Mox, or Biff Busick. That'd be more like it. And I think it was on a Bloodsport. And you're like, hot damn, this rules, like this is the kind of shit that actually does rock, Now it's like, what was it? Pete Dunne versus Royce Isaacs. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if it happened, but I'm like that doesn't get my blood boiling. It's, that's not something I'm like, holy shit. Mox doesn't show up there anymore. I'm pretty sure all the AEW people stopped showing up when Barnett started booking WWE people. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I you know, he says, oh, well, you know, it's come apart before I was able to realize my full vision. I don't understand what the vision, how much fuller the vision could have been. Like, he's been doing this for years and the vision never changed. There was never any sign of something that was meant to feel different. Oh, I see where he's going with this. It was always the same thing. So what was the vision? What was the grand vision? I think the grand vision, folks, is I didn't make enough money. I think that's the grand Josh Barnett vision here. Ultimately, the one that came apart at the seams there. I just didn't make enough money, folks. That's all. That's all there is. I think that's it. I don't know. I'm not going to feel, I don't feel sad that it's gone. If it never comes back, it's fine as well. There will be someone else who will do, you know, catch style wrestling. You know, it's really funny that Barnett is there saying, you know, this is my concept and whatnot. It's like, no, it really isn't. It's just the name and they can give it another name. But, you know, catch style, shoot style pro wrestling has always been around. There's been promotions based around that. UWFC rules and all that. Like, you know, no, it's fine. Like, it's essentially, from what I understand, Killer Cross's show that he did on Saturday night was essentially that. It was essentially like it was a work shoot style event, but with a few more angles. And it had stories into them, right? As Barnett was like, no, that's not it. So, you know, it's yeah, the Natural Born Killers. So they show exactly. So, you know, this is like, it's not going to end at Barnett. It's going to continue in one form or another. It just might not be called Bloodsport. I don't know. I don't think it was all that interesting anymore. I had checked out completely years ago, despite at first I was like, yeah. This rules. This is great. I'm like, so rest in peace, Bloodsport. Brett Lauderdale hinted at Bloodsport continuing on his Twitter earlier. Oh no. Yeah, I think Barnett's announcement came unexpected. I don't think anyone was really expecting Barnett to I don't think anyone was expecting Barnett to say, yeah, this was the last one. Good night, everyone. Yeah, and then he goes on Helwani. Yeah, but he said, like, we're going in a hiatus for a while. I don't know when we'll come back. And then he goes on Helwani. He's like, nah, we're shutting it down. All right. It's done. It's fine. Honestly, it's really fine. I'm not going to mourn the loss of Bloodsport. Little update on Maxwell Jacob Friedman following his loss, his championship loss last week on Dynamite. There were rumors going around that he was going to take some time off, but it doesn't sound like it anymore. Here's another article off the Figure 4 Online Observer. Just days after retaining against Kenny Omega at AEW Dynasty, MJF lost the AEW Championship to Darby Allin on Dynamite Spring Breakthrough. The loss led to speculation that MJF could be going on hiatus from AEW for an acting role. However, Self-Made Pro Wrestling, an outlet that interviewed MJF in February, reports that he is not expected to miss time and is factored into the plans for Double or Nothing 2026. In speaking with a source with knowledge of the situation, it was relayed to us that MJF is not expected to miss time and is not filming a movie at this point, Self-Made tweeted. MJF is scheduled for upcoming Dynamites and will be factored into the main event plans for Double or Nothing. just to make sure everyone knows this, that he's not, how it's not like, because that's often a situation too, right? Where people will be like, oh, he lost. That means he's doing something self-serving for himself. And you're like, ah, come on. Not necessarily. That, not necessarily. Might not be that, might not be the case. No, he'll be factored in. He'll be fine. He'll be around. He's not disappearing for months here. And quite frankly, I'm glad he's not. Yeah, I'm glad he's not. I think he is one of the components as to why AEW has been so good over the past few months. I know there's a lot of people who don't want to hear it, but that's the reality in what he's doing. His championship run was a success, folks. It was a creative success. It was a business success. Key metrics will prove it. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So if he were to disappear for a while, I think it would be not good. I don't think it would be advantageous for All Elite Wrestling if MJF were to go away. He's been great, and a pissed off Max that he got screwed out of his title is going to be extremely entertaining. I can't wait. This is going to be some more great stuff. I'm very much looking forward to it. And AEW has a new pay-per-view reported, set for 2026. Another article from the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer from our boy Josh Nason. The Sunday Wrestling Observer Live host Andrew Zarian said on Friday's Mat Men podcast that the recently trademarked AEW Redemption would be the name. Where it goes is still unknown, but there is a front runner based on the calendar. As of now, AEW has announced dates for May's Double or Nothing, June's Forbidden Door, and August's All In, leaving July wide open for that slot to be filled. For the past 2 years, AEW has not done either a June or July pay-per-view. It remains a possibility that AEW renames an existing show, such as September's All Out or October's Wrestle Dream, so on and so forth, but that remains very unlikely. Redemption would bring AEW to 10 yearly pay-per-views for the first time in their history. They started out with 3 in 2019, 4 in both 2020 and 2021, 5 in 2022, 8 in 2023, and 9 in both 2024 and 2025. With the exception of 2020's Revolution, they have always skipped both January and February. So there you go. This just might. There's a very fair chance that this is going to happen. That this might be the pay-per-view, and so it will unfortunately not have anything to do with Cody Rhodes returning, which is a shame. I still think it would have been really funny if he comes back on a pay-per-view called Redemption. That would have been extremely, extremely hilarious. The thing here was pointed out to me on the Discord today. I had folks asking, it's like, what do you think about a pay-per-view in Quebec City, which is my hometown, of course. I'm like, pay-per-view in Quebec City, where's this coming from? Like, are we memeing? Are we having a gas? It's like, no. I flat out said, I don't think a pay-per-view here is a good idea. It won't sell out. It won't sell out. And then as I'm looking at the blue skies and whatnot, then I realized that this was like a topic of discussion, that Zarian had brought it up on a podcast, chatting with someone earlier today. At least it was picked up on Reddit, it seems. And people started to say that apparently Zarian had said that it was going to come to Quebec City. I'm like, what? And as much as I love my hometown, folks, as much as I love my hometown, and I really do, and I love living here. It's a beautiful place to live, great quality of life. There's no way in hell AEW is filling out for a pay-per-view here. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. And I'm thinking of, I'm even going through my mind and I'm like, hang on a second. Like, what are the venues here that could do this? Because the AEW has been here before. 3 years ago, right? Or 2 years ago, almost 3. They came to my hometown, and I went to see them, and it was held in the Videotron Center, the Centre Videotron, which is our hockey stadium, the big time NHL hockey stadium, and we don't have an NHL team. I went there and we put like 3,400 people in the building, and we're talking about an 18,000 seat arena. So it's kind of embarrassing, and the vibes are off and so on and so forth. It wasn't great. And the reason is simple for that. It's because this is a WWE town. People know WWE. No one knows. No one knows AEW here. That's just the reality. That's just the reality. I don't even think it has. There was a time it had broadcast on one of the French language sport networks, but I'm pretty sure they don't anymore. Like, no one knows what it is. So, we put in 3,400 people that one night. We're not drawing for a pay-per-view here. I was like, why not Montreal? Why not going to Montreal? There's so many more people that live in Montreal. AEW has more of a foothold here. I went to an AEW show at the Bell Center in Montreal a couple of years ago, and that one had a lot more people in it. I think it was like 6,000 or something like that, something to that effect. It wasn't like a great number, but we had a solid crowd there nonetheless. And then, geographically speaking, then you can draw a whole bunch of people. You can draw people from Quebec City, like myself, who will do the trip to go to Montreal. It's not that far from here, but people who will do the trip to go see the show. You'll have people from the eastern townships down south, and then you'll have people from Ottawa as well who are going to come in. Like, Montreal is perfect for that. It's like, I legitimately didn't understand what the logic was here. And then I started thinking about the venues here. Like, what venues here? Outside of the Videotron Center, what can we do? And then, I'm thinking, well, we have an outside football stadium in the university, the TELUS Stadium. But I mean, like, that seats like 12,000 people. Seats, right? So like the current setup. So that means that more people on the pitch, on the ring side. How are we going to fill that up? Like, we don't have the population to do that because people just aren't aware of AEW. There's nothing like there's nothing else, So I'm just thinking about it, and none of it makes sense. I don't understand why they do that. And then, well, it kind of turns out that that the reported talk, at least was that the talk was misreported on Reddit, if you want to believe that they weren't mentioning Quebec City at all as something. Look, if they want to drop into Quebec City to do a Dynamite before the pay-per-view, I think that's a good idea. I think that's pretty neat, actually. Drop in here, you do the Dynamite go-home show, moving on to Montreal. That's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. I mean, it makes a pay-per-view in Quebec City makes absolutely no sense at all. It makes no sense. So that was my journey today. I was trying to make sense of it. I was like, what data does Tony Khan have? Because my environment here is not the environment here is not there's no propensity for AEW here. And there's no like proper mid-size venues for AEW to come to if they wanted to put in 2,000, 3,000 people, which I think we could get to. There's no venue for that. But you're not doing a 10,000 seat pay-per-view here. You just can't. And we don't have the venues we don't have mid-size venues. We have either very small or very big. So there you go. Anyway, Redemption is the pay-per-view. Probably, likely, coming up. And probably not. In Quebec City. Fred Moreland, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, I guess. Member for 17 months. Are you okay? Is everything okay, Fred? There's something you're trying to tell us? I see Delirious there, and I'm like, okay. Have you been watching TNA again? What happened to the Nordiques? They got sold to Colorado. They became the Avalanche. Quite unfortunately, the year that they won, the year they got sold, they won the Stanley Cup, which is incredibly hard. It's still a hard pill to swallow. Are you going to travel to Rimouski for AEW Redemption Warren? There is no way in hell they're going to Rimouski. No way. Absolutely not. 6,000 isn't too bad. It's like an old NXT takeover crowd. No, the crowd was good. The crowd was good. It was a good crowd. It was a fun show. But yeah, like it wasn't, like the Bell Center is another huge, it's another huge arena. It was, it was during the time that AEW was running the big basketball, hockey arenas at like a third of its capacity or a fourth in some circumstances. So there you go. There you go, friends. I think we're done. I think we covered what we could tonight. I did talk quite a bit about the Andreas Hale thing, but that just reaches deep inside and it pisses me off. Makes me angry. What? Abba Baba Delirious boring boober Baba hire another 38-year-old NXT washout Baba tell Carlos Silva very handsome keep job. Is this like a Baba Tunde thing? Is that it? A Commander Aziz Baba Tunde. What was it? What was the other one? He had another name, right? He had 3 names. There's another one. His last, yeah. Baba Tunde, Commander Aziz, and he had another one, but I don't remember. It doesn't matter. He doesn't even wrestle anymore. Dabakato. Mr. Antox, always with the really obscure shit. Oh, Baba Thunder. That's the one he's going under right now. Now, right? Baba Thunder's the one he's using on the indies, right? I think. I knew there was something there. Thank you for the good job. I appreciate it. Thank you for saying I did a good job. I like to be told I do a good job. We've discussed this. But yes, good job, Warren. Another successful Monday night stream. Thank you, everyone, for popping in, for joining me, for having a nice Monday night. A post WrestleMania meltdown. Mr. Warren Hayes show coming up on Wednesday. Thank you, Rory Starks. Good job, Rory. Thank you. Another Mr. Warren Hayes show coming Wednesday. Another Dynamite review coming Thursday. It's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited at the idea of MJF being extremely mad, and I'm very into Will Ospreay versus Dangerous Mark Davis. Those are just two hooks right there. You got me. I'm interested. So that should be fun. And of course, we'll be back Thursday evening with the Thursday night stream here on the channel. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I will do another good job on Thursday. Count on it, pals. There we go. We'll wrap it up. Thank you all around. Hope you had a lovely evening, and I hope you have a good start to your week. Hope it goes well. We'll see you when we start getting time. When it starts getting time to wrap everything up. All right, is that good? All right. See you then. Bye bye. Mwah!